We will learn from those present in the other room what happened over there, and in the meantime, the item that we skipped so far, I will try to find it. Just a moment, please.
Mają jakiś problem tutaj. Jak nie będzie działało, to też sobie damy radę. Momencik. O, coś działa. Proszę Państwa, może ja skorzystam.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to continue. I'd like to tell you a few words about our report about innovativeness of the aviation sector that will be handed over to you today. I wouldn't like to tell too much about this, about the methodology, because you have the handouts where it is described, and this is also described in the report itself, the whole history, how this happened, that we took a grip about these problems as the Institute of Economic Sciences of the Polish Academy of Sciences. Here's the title page. I'd like to remind you that we were acting under patronage of the Minister of Regional Development of the city of Warsaw, of the Mayor of Rzeszów, the media patronage of the Polish Market for Air Transport portal, and also support from the Polish Agency of Entrepreneurship. The report that will be handed over to you is bilingual. It's supported partially by the Ministry of Economy within the program of the promotion of export. This is an enormous challenge consisting in the fact that we have many international meetings and there is no data about what's actually happening in Poland. So we wanted to help this way. The cover of this report refers to a meeting that took place in 2006 in Ottawa, Canada, the Blue Sky Conference, where in the center of interest were innovations, technologies, and science. Here, we were partially inspired by that project. It's roughly 5 years after that meeting that set international standards in terms of statistics for innovation and research or R&D, and we'd like to refer to this. We'd like to tell you that an animator of this whole conference in Ottawa, with several hundreds attendees from all over the world, was Fred Gold, who was at that time the director of Statistics Canada, and the Nestle LCD, the team of experts with nearly 40 years of tradition in that area. Let me tell you a few words about the very structure of this report to make it easier for you to use it. The report is made of two parts: sectorial analysis and microeconomic analysis and analytic material. Sectorial analysis are understood here in a very special way. Why we took a grip about this? We hear about regional problems, we hear about the nationwide problems in Poland. However, the quality is something out of the attention And sectorial problems are a little bit an orphan today, and we believe this is a very important issue to show within this area. That's one of the fastest developing area in Poland. So we wanted to show that no 100% is guaranteed. This is an enormous challenge, and we are afraid of the thing that happened to Polish shipyards to happen with this aviation. So what kind of text we do have? We have an excellent text of Mrs. Świerczewska about the assessment of position of Polish aviation industry in Poland. We have text of Professor Liberska that shows with full attention what's going on in Brazil. Unfortunately, we are forced to think about Brazil. We have the BRICS group of countries: Brazil, India, China, and South Africa, namely countries that nobody would think ever they would be international powers, but they are, and a lot is happening in those countries, and we need to take a look at this area because they are potential sub-suppliers or suppliers of services or powerful investors. And the first text is about a very distant country, but apparently very distant country, Brazil. However, Polish airlines are operating Embraer aircraft manufactured in Brazil. So it is shown how this could happen, that this country could become one of the global powers in passengers aviation. Another essay was prepared by Mr. Dmitry Ogonowski. It refers to Polish sector. It actually refers to export from Russia of the defense equipment and aircraft, but this refers to two other countries of the BRICS groups, I mean China and India, who are the biggest customers for aircraft imported from Russia. And those of you who read newspapers, there is a lot of changes in this area. And Fred Gold mentioned about what President Obama said about this. Completely new opportunities are opening. This is a very interesting text, and I encourage you to read it. Next we have a text by Marek Niechciał of the National Bank of Poland about place of Poland in this whole market. How do we look like in terms of general aviation comparing to the Czech Republic? Why we are lagging behind? Then we have a text of somebody who was not able to come here today because Mrs. Iwona Nowicka is just buttoning up the contract for the national foresight from the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, and her text is about the existing foresight programs where the aviation is present. This is an enormous resource of knowledge that could help. This was a research that was conducted by the Technical University of Białystok, showing that there is a large interest from small and medium enterprises in this project because they are not able to invest their money in this kind of research. And I know companies in Poland that buy foresights abroad, and they are already present in international markets. In the end, we have a text by a lawyer, Paweł Krzywina, about legal changes in the aviation business. And I selected for you several elements that I believe are important in this report. So we have some color graphs, and I hope that we'll be able to show this to you. This is the share of investments into R&D in the aviation industry as compared to total investments for R&D in Poland and in selected OECD countries. Blue bar shows Poland, red bar is the USA, green is France, and violet is the UK. As you can see, there was quite a high level in Poland. It's climbing up again, but still there are some fluctuations, and in terms of the percentage, there is a lot to be done here, but you can see this growing trend, and this is something positive. As you can see, this refers not only to Poland, you can see some fluctuations here. Green for France, it's also fluctuating. The next slide that I prepared are selected figures. It's the share of Polish exports and exports of selected OECD countries in the total volume of export of aviation industry products in the years 1997-2008. This was also prepared by Dr. Świerczewska. In general terms, we are quite satisfied about ourselves. However, you saw what was shown by Dr. Gold in terms of this reverse structure of the R&D investments. There are a few countries in the world where the industry is investing less into R&D than the state, and in general terms, this level of the state investments is not too high. In terms of exports, you can see incredibly rapid growth. If you compare this, for example, to 1997, you can see a fourfold increase of the exports share. This is a revolution, and if you compare this to this data below, what's the scale of exports in other countries, then our optimism is a little bit reduced. We may only consolate ourselves that this is fluctuating in other countries, but there is a lot of work to be done, and the fact of presence of the global corporations in Poland is an enormous chance to increase these indicators. So these are just messages to stimulate your imagination, and another part of this report are microeconomic analysis. These are studies based upon micro data, unitary data. Usually there are no studies like this because the statistical office is collecting data and convert them into average values. We don't know what's happening in particular companies, and in our case this is different. We have this raw data from the companies, and we have an insight of what's going on in particular companies, and this provides quite a lot of knowledge to us. And the first text was prepared by Mrs. Justyna Janik. This prospect for growth of the aviation sector in Poland. We have also text of Mrs. Nela Grodzka and Kamil Kastner, basis for the growth of innovativeness of the aviation sector in Poland. An interesting feature of this text is that this is a combination of transport and industry. What's identified, that's 20 million passengers are using Polish airports. This is an enormously big market that's not completely tied to the industry. Then we have a text of Dr. Ewa Puchała-Krzywina, factors limiting innovative activeness of the aviation sector's enterprises in the years 2006-2009. In the beginning, they were very standard surveys, so-called community innovation survey. However, from a couple of years, it was maintained in Poland, and we are the only institution in Poland observing what's going on further with all these barriers. Then we have a text by President of Avia Company, Krzysztof Krystowski, the R&D activity of Polish aviation industry, openness to international partnership. We have a text by Director of this institute, Mr. Witold Wiśniowski, about the Institute of Aviation in this Jubilee year. And finally, we have a text about innovative family companies in the aviation sector. It turns out, and it is shown on many examples, especially in the Podkarpacie region, where the process of manufacturing components for aircraft is run by families. Family companies in Poland, there are about 1 million of them. There is special association of family companies, and we have one of such companies from the Wielkopolskie province, the Solaris companies, although it's not an aviation company, but it's a family one. But the public awareness about this is limited. Family companies are quite unique because they can come to terms with their partners immediately. They don't need to do a lot of paperwork. At least this is said by one of the presidents of the pharmaceutical companies in Warsaw, President Adamkiewicz. We don't need, you see, kilograms of papers. Everything is based upon mutual trust.
Now let me show you two more graphs about the microeconomic aspects. This comes from the Central Statistical Office, and it demonstrates that the aviation and defense sectors are the only high technology sectors which enjoy a surplus in international trade. We export more than we import. Somebody will say that that's because of the multinationals. Well, but that's fine, because they boost the exports for Poland, and so smaller companies can grow, research institutes, and so on and so forth. That's there, up there. It's not a growing trend, mind you, but the balance is still in surplus. We have the data there for 2009. There's been a slight drop, but it's still a surplus. And here, armaments. And one more slide, which is the R&D intensity. Innovation scoreboard. One is conducted by the Maastricht University, which shows the average values, and this survey has been conducted by IPTS in Seville. The reports are available online, which show which countries invest most in R&D. Justyna Janik conducted a mini research in order to show how the aviation industry is positioned in terms of the intensity of R&D outlays. And it turns out that the Polish companies have the rate of intensity higher than many international concerns. But this is assessed compared to the sales levels, which shows that a lot of outlays is put into for R&D, but it doesn't translate into sufficient sales. That's the way we could interpret it. But certainly the phenomenon is quite interesting. If you look at the Avio company and the R&D intensity, it has higher intensity than EADS. But obviously, if we compare that to the sales, that might turn out to be slightly misleading. Again, at the top, WSK Kalisz, again, very high R&D intensity ratio. So this certainly demonstrates that the way the trend is correct. And this graph demonstrates the growing aviation industry in Poland, which now has reached 20 million passengers at Polish airports. That's the air travel rather than the aviation industry curve. And here we assess the innovation outlays. This pie chart may seem strange because it combines, if you like, two planes, two dimensions. You assess, on the one hand, where the money comes from for innovation. So we have the outside and inside sources, and then what the funds go for. Is it research? Is it training? We generally say innovation, but in truth, most of the funds go for fixed assets. There's not enough companies which spend the money on research, on training, on marketing, on organization. That's what the companies don't do more often than not. You have heard Dr. Gold, who said that the purely innovative aspects were only 1/3. And in Poland, this structure is in disarray. Why is this graph a bit strange? Well, we should really have two graphs. But the author of this put both the sources of financing and the different elements into one picture. So, what we have in reality, the first part, are the R&D outlays, and the second two is the structure. You can see that in aviation industry, there's a considerable R&D expenditure. In Poland, more is put into fixed assets rather than R&D, and this trend continues. There's also a mismatch of the Polish funding system to the growing needs of this very dynamically growing sector. We can see this goes mostly from the internal funds, which is a mistake. There was a meeting devoted to R&D investment. And it turns out that neither public institutions nor banks not enjoy state bank guarantees for certain financial instruments. And so these decisions are not being taken. And so a great number of SMEs who would otherwise develop are hampered from the development. Finally, let me show you an interesting result. We have here Dr. Puchała-Krzywina, who has conducted research on barriers to innovation in accordance with OECD standards, with a slightly reversed picture. In other words, the smaller the bar, the greater the barrier. That's how you should read it. And please note that the greatest barriers are the financial aspects.
Ale tutaj w wypadku sektora lotniczego
But if you look at the aviation sector,
w dosyć silnym zobaczmy. Zbyt wysokie koszty innowacji. No nie ma w tej chwili pani dyrektor.
the costs of innovation are too high,
Zbyt wysokie koszty innowacji. My to nazywamy
which we call
paradoksem
the
alokacyjnym.
allocation
Napłynęły
paradox.
ogromne
In
środki
other
do
words,
Polski, a
huge
firmy
funds
skarżą
have
się,
flown into Poland,
że
but the
nie
companies
mogą zrealizować
are
pełnych swoich
complaining
planów. To
that they are not
znaczy, że coś tam
able
trzeba w tym wszystkim
to
poprawić.
realize the
Jest wchodzimy
programs.
powoli w nowy okres finansowania.
But
Warto
soon
się
the new
temu
financing period will start, so perhaps this is worth looking at.
widać, że no nie jest tak słodko, jeżeli chodzi o obraz rynku.
The market situation is not a rosy picture either.
Jeżeli chodzi o opanowanie rynku przez duże podmioty, to stanowi jednak barierę
You
dla
can see
mniejszych firm.
that there's again a barrier for the small companies there, especially when they are to compete with the larger ones. And difficulty in finding partners, again, is a constraint. The cluster policy is the way to go, but obviously this does not provide a panaceum. The aviation industry is model in this respect because we've got the clusters. But what they've done in the southeastern Poland is really excellent. The challenges there are so huge that it's certainly worth applying the experience. They keep telling us that there's no social capital in Poland, but the southeastern clusters are an example which prove the opposite. There's a lot of very positive atmosphere there, and in the internationalization session, we played a film which had a good example of what I'm talking about. And it was mentioned again and again how important cooperation is in chains, networks, and the environment. So this is a huge room for improvement. There are also some positive signals. No demand for innovation. That's the aspect that is portrayed here. But this turns out not to be the greatest barrier. We have 20 million air travel passengers, so there's something of a deficiency in the area of demand. What can we also find in the report? Well, there's a list on the basis of a methodology which has been introduced in Poland for the 6th year now. And we decided to implement it on the sectoral level. We identify companies which are involved in innovation. And the report covers 100 such companies. Obviously, we had a greater number of companies which we started to assess, but only for 100 were we able to provide reliable assessment. The problem is that not all companies send in the information, provide us with the feedback. If we had a full picture, the situation would probably be better. The report contains some
Doda Państwu, ten raport zostanie umieszczony
information notes about the companies. You will get the report both on paper but also in the electronic form, and you will see,
Nawet dla mnie było to
you will
szokiem,
observe
bo na
yourselves
każdej z tych fiszek informacyjnych jest strona internetowa.
that
danej
each of
firmy.
these information
I
notes
widać, że
contains a
ocena jest
website
taka, no dosłownie
address.
prawie, że w ogóle nie ma danych o tej firmie i my klikamy na tą firmę i tam
The note is
okazuje
very
się, że
skimpy,
aż
but when you
I
click
sami
on
państwo do
the
wszystkich
link,
firm macie
you
państwo
will
dostęp.
see that there's a huge wealth of information there.
I teraz podsumowując, mówiłem o kolegach, ja starałem się podsumować ten raport.
So I gave you an example of some of my colleagues' research, and to give you a summary of that, there's a chapter which I called Beyond Borders, because making it an international aspect is the key thing. The innovative dynamics of the aviation sector. I just want to give you some bullet points of what I'm talking about here. This is a sector with a huge level of investment attractiveness. So we should really do the utmost to attract partners, to attract banks, for instance, to help finance projects, to boost the connection between the large companies and small firms, the use of the Polish aviation traditions, excellent research centers. There's a huge potential which we have. Even the past, of being part of the Comic-Con is still something that gives us good experience and can help in cooperation, for instance, with Ukraine. Sectoral analysis play a key role. So far, there's a lot to be done. Unless we properly measure and analyze, we cannot manage it. Obviously, some people would say that nothing is happening, so there's no problem. But if something is happening, it needs to be analyzed. And this conference of ours shows there's a huge dynamics, but also a huge number of problems to be solved.
I na koniec jest takie wyzwanie, jest kilka punktów rzuconych, tu jest też pan profesor Rokicki z Politechniki.
I also devote some part of this report to the challenges. We have Professor Rokicki here, who works in the area of strategies. And we hear that there's a need for a development of strategy for the aviation sector. Many strategies are being developed, but our report encourages a participation model. Obviously, local authorities need to be involved, and unless that happens more, unless these contacts are struck, unless networking is organized, unless contracts are signed, then things will not happen. The aviation valley shows us that in this very poor, desperately poor southeastern Poland, something fantastic can emerge. But there are also other clusters. The Mazowsza province is not able to provide proper conditions, so firms which want to build light planes go to northern parts of Poland. That is all from me. Thank you very much for your interest. I wonder if Director Jasiński is with us. Yes, he is. So there will be a very nice moment. What we want to do is to really showcase the excellent work which is being done in these difficult conditions. We want to honor innovation efforts, and we will have a ceremony of granting diplomas of excellence to the most innovative aviation companies. One of them, unfortunately, not also with us. We have got news about that, but two of the others are with us, and I want now to ask Professor Leszek Jasiński, the director of the Economics Department of the Polish Academy of Sciences, and Professor Wiśniowski, director of the Aviation Institute, who is our host, to participate in the ceremony.
Zapraszam panów bardzo.
Please join me here, gentlemen. And this is the enterprise that will be not present here today. It was privatized not a long time ago, and simple any decision about any business trip is made at the central level, and it hasn't been decided that our meeting today was important enough. So the PZL Świdnik, that was the leader of our whole Poland ranking in 2007, so we will send this award to them. And the company that took the second place in our ranking is WSK PZL Kalisz. Representative of Kalisz, please come here to take the award. Congratulations, sir, and please give our congratulations to the president of your company. Would you tell a few words? I'm extremely glad to obtain this kind of award. I'd like to declare that we will continue to work in the same direction and novelty that we have, and we are going to implement this innovation. It's application in the aircraft piston engine and electronically controlled injection. So we are going to replace the carburetor version. We are doing this in the direct partnership with the Warsaw Technical University, Lublin Technical University, the Military Academy of Technology, and also the Air Forces Institute of Technology and other companies. And we assume that this modified engine will be implemented, and it will be used on AN2 and PZL Dromadaar airplanes. Thank you very much. I'm honored. My name is Władysław Jędras. So I'm taking this award on behalf of our president, and my responsibility is development, is the growth of R&D and investments related to R&D in our company in Kalisz. Some of you remember Kalisz only as the place where the pianos were manufactured. However, we have also a quickly growing aircraft industry. If I may remind to you the famous Pratt & Whitney company, that's our neighbor, and recently the Hamilton Sandstrand company, they were developed on the basis of our WSK Kalisz. So we are kind of a mother of these companies that are operating in our town, and in economic terms, maybe they have even better results that we have. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the first ranking for the most innovative companies of aviation industry is Avio Poland. Avio Polska Limited Liability Company President Krystowski, please take the award. Could you please tell viewers? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. My thanks go to organizers of this ranking who gave this title of the most innovative company of Polish aviation industry. This is a big appreciation of what we've been doing. However, I think that irrespectively of whether we take the second, first or third place in this ranking, I think if we analyze very carefully the first 10 companies, I think that each of these 10 companies would be entitled to take the first position, because it's the issue of the assessment criteria that we used. But however, this doesn't change the fact that not only we are an innovative company, but we feel being like that. We invest a lot of money into R&D efforts, and our company, out of 425 employees, 85 are engineers working for our R&D center, dealing with analysis and tests. And I think this first place is merit of these 85 people, and the rare pleasure of being a president of the company, that from time to time of having rebuked by the company, you can take hours like this. So thank you very much, and I'd like to congratulate to other Polish aviation companies that are so much present in this group of most innovative Polish aviation industry companies. I've been always observing this ranking, and if out of these 500 companies being assessed, there is 100 companies representing the aviation industry. This reflects the real rank of Polish aviation industry in terms of innovativeness. I think this should be a message for our decision makers to be noticed as the whole industry, as the leader in the scale of whole Poland. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in the end, I'd like to tell you that detailed information that outside of the ranking, we have also an informational note about particular companies, and what I told you about this internet connection. If this is available in the electronic form, it's enough for you to click on our webpage. You would be able to see what's going on in these companies, and this is really impressive. All these companies are evaluated in so-called 5A system, so the whole methodology is presented. Also, the figures are given, and you may be just concerned that some fields in the tables are not filled in. However, the links presented show the real life of the companies. So it's a similar situation as with the clusters that were discussed today. I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks to you for participation in our conference, and I'd like to invite you for a lunch that will be served in the next building. I'm sorry for making you running from one building to another, and those who will be leaving will get this hard copy of the report. Thank you very much. And please enjoy the meal in the next building, the last walk before leaving. Thank you very much.